Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then hello, and if you've been here before, then welcome back. So today's video is kind of like really bittersweet. It is the final video to do with pregnancy and labour and delivery, which is kind of really sad, but at the same time we are now moving on to a new chapter. It is the final video to close this chapter. So I put up a post over on Instagram asking you guys to ask me some questions in regards to, I did mainly say the third trimester and labour and delivery, but I've kind of just done it as like pregnancy just in general, and obviously labour and delivery, or any other questions that you have. I just decided to combine it into one and just make it one final big Q&A about anything that you guys want to know. So without further ado, we're going to get straight on into today's video. They're not going to be, again, in any particular order. I'm just going to read them off randomly as I chose them. First question is, did you have a birth plan? And I think I spoke about this in previous vlogs and videos during my pregnancy this time round. And I didn't have a birth plan this time round because obviously I had a plan when I was pregnant with Penelope and it didn't go to plan, and obviously I said I didn't want to set myself up for disappointment this time round, so obviously I just had preferences of what I wanted to happen, but again I didn't actually get a chance to write them down. And as you guys know, I had a very quick labour and delivery, so there was literally like no need really for a birth plan. But no, I didn't have a birth plan. I had a birth preference instead, if that makes sense, or was going to have birth preferences instead. Question 2, pelvic pain during the third trimester. My pelvic pain was horrendous towards the end of my pregnancy in the third trimester, and I'm still suffering now, which is something that I need to mention at my 6 to 8 week check, because it is still really painful to walk, or if I'm led down for too long I have excruciating pain in the pelvic area. I'm not sure whether it's all to do with the muscles and stuff obviously after delivery, I'm not sure, but I am going to mention it. But during the third trimester it was horrendous. There is obviously ways of getting yourself up and out of bed without doing too much damage or causing yourself too much pain. I really did suffer. Yeah, the pain is kind of like unavoidable. There's nothing that they can really do. Obviously, if you get all that pain and pressure a lot earlier on, they offer you things like crutches, support belts, things like that. But yeah, there's not really much you can do for pelvic pain. You kind of just have to get on with it, I suppose, as horrible as it is. But yeah, I did suffer a lot with pelvic pain and pressure. Question number 3, did you harvest colostrum in the third trimester? So I actually started this very late on in my pregnancy. I think I started from about 38 weeks, so I only actually done it for a week or so before obviously I delivered Lennox. But obviously do talk to your midwife or your healthcare professional or whoever you are under during your pregnancy, just to make sure that you are allowed and you are safe to do so. Yes, I did harvest colostrum. Question 4, which was the hardest pregnancy for you? So my hardest pregnancy physically was Penelope. I obviously was constantly in and out of hospital with Penelope. I had lots of little issues during my pregnancy with Penelope, sort of pain wise and things like that. But yeah, physically my hardest pregnancy was Penelope. Question 5, which is quite nice because not many people picked up on this in one of my previous videos, but this question is, how did you feel about being booked in for a sweep? So as you guys know, my pregnancy with Lennox was the furthest I've got in obviously any of my pregnancies. Obviously some are being 5 weeks early, Nelly being only 9 days early, but there was like no talks of like any sort of sweeps or anything like that. Obviously I was due to be induced with Nelly, but she ended up coming by herself naturally anyway. But this time round, obviously because I got to 39 weeks, we were booked in for a sweep at my 40-week appointment. And if I'm being honest, I was kind of nervous about it because a lot of people have said it hasn't worked or it's sort of given them a false start. And I was a little bit nervous about that. Obviously, do your research on obviously sweeps, because there is obviously risks with it. and there is obviously pros, cons and all that stuff. So obviously do your research. I'd obviously done mine, and for me, I definitely thought I would have benefited from it if we needed to have it, but obviously we didn't. But yeah, I did feel a little bit nervous about it and a little bit disheartened about it as well, in the sense that I just wanted it to happen naturally, and obviously in the end it did, so I didn't have to have anything to sort of help the process along, if that makes sense. Question 6. Did you use everything you packed in your hospital bag? This time round, yes, I did. The only thing that I didn't use was my nightie that I bought for labour, and that was because things just happened so quickly and I just didn't have time to get changed. But everything else that I packed, I used. Question 7 says, congratulations, how are you feeling? I'm actually feeling okay. I probably could feel better, I'm not gonna lie, for a lot of reasons, but physically I feel really, really good. I bounced back pretty quickly this time round. Obviously I do have quite a way to go, but I think obviously with breastfeeding everything contracts down just a little bit quicker, and they do say obviously it is sort of better for bouncing back. But obviously everyone's different, everyone's body's different, people have different ways of feeding, and that's fine. Fed is best. But yeah, I'm actually feeling really, really good physically. Mentally, probably a bit sort of in the middle at the moment, just because obviously we are only 4 weeks postpartum and it is a lot. But yeah, I am actually feeling good, so thank you for asking. Question 8. Things you'd recommend in and during pregnancy. So things I definitely recommend is, obviously if you are having pelvic pain, do get yourself a support belt. Mine came in handy so much, I pretty much wore it 24/7 and it really, really did help. I'd also recommend a birthing ball or a exercise gym ball, whatever, just to help with the exercises to open up your pelvis and bring baby down. And it's actually a lot more comfortable to sit on, and it is actually better for you to sit on a birth ball than it is on a sofa or lie down on a sofa or anything like that. So they are the 2 things that I would definitely recommend in and during pregnancy. Also a pregnancy pillow. I have the same pregnancy pillow that I had with Penelope, and I still have it now because it helps when I am feeding. But I definitely recommend a pregnancy pillow because again, that helps with pain in the pelvis and things like that, and it's just a lot more comfortable. So those are probably the top 3 things that I'd recommend for sure. Question 9 is, how did you know you were in labour? If you haven't, I will link my labour and delivery story, birth story down below, so you can go watch that. But like briefly, how did I know I was in labour? So I had my bloody show, which to me indicated that labour could be starting, and the thing that initially told me or showed me that I was definitely in labour were the consistent pains / contractions. I knew that I was in labour when those had started to happen because they were the exact same pain and the exact same feeling that I had when I went into labour with Penelope. So I knew when I started to have them that I needed to time them, and if they were regular and consistent, then I was definitely in labour, and I was. So that's how I knew. But I guess like the initial sign was obviously having my bloody show, which obviously is an indicator that potentially you could be going into labour. But it was the pains and contractions in the end that indicated that yes, I was definitely in labour. Question 10 was, did you do anything to induce labour? And the answer to that is no, not initially or intentionally. Obviously the night before I went into labour, obviously I harvested colostrum. I had my raspberry leaf tea, which I had been drinking from 34 weeks, I think, 33, 34 weeks. And then obviously the night that obviously I went into labour, we obviously did do the deed, which they say can induce labour, but obviously we've been doing that throughout my pregnancy anyway. So I didn't like do anything initially or intentionally to induce labour, but obviously I had done things or was doing things that could have potentially have put me into labour. if that makes sense. So you could say yes, but at the same time, I didn't do it intentionally. Question 11 is baby blues. They've literally just put baby blues, and I'm guessing they kind of mean, have I suffered with baby blues? And the answer is yes, I really did suffer with baby blues. If you're asking how to deal with the baby blues, you kind of just have to ride it out, but you have to keep an eye on yourself. So if the baby blues last longer than a couple of weeks, then it may be best to speak to a healthcare professional, because obviously you could be suffering with postpartum depression, which is absolutely normal. It's absolutely fine. It's absolutely okay. Baby blues are completely normal, and obviously it's not actually spoken about very often after obviously pregnancy, but it is completely normal to cry and feel the way that you feel after you've had a baby. So baby blues are definitely completely normal. Question 12 is medication during labour. So the only thing that I had this time round during my labour and delivery was gas and air. Short and sweet, just gas and air, nothing else. Question 13 is how long was your labour? So obviously, again, I think I covered this in my birth story, but obviously I lost my bloody show at 12:20, and then an hour and a bit later, obviously I started having pains and contractions. But obviously they time it from obviously the time that you get into hospital and are in established labour then. So if you are like 4 centimetres or more, then they will start timing it from then up until you give birth. And my labour from then was an hour and 3 minutes. So it was very, very super quick, which I absolutely loved. But yeah, very, very quick. Question 14 is, how are you finding breastfeeding? So this is a little bit raw for me because I am actually finding it very, very difficult, but it's something that I really want to keep pushing and keep doing, just because I really had set my heart and my head and my mind on breastfeeding this time, obviously with him being our last, and obviously it's the best thing for them, and obviously with the times and the rising cost of things, it is the cheaper option for us. And I'm lucky in the sense that I have a milk supply and I'm able to feed him this way. Obviously I know it's not the same for everybody, and again, that could change. My supply could completely drop and I could dry up and that would be it. Obviously we are only nearly 4 weeks in, but the first few weeks, and I know we're only nearly 4 weeks in, so I only say like the first few weeks, but literally that first 2 weeks I did nothing but cry. I was in so much pain. I really was debating whether to give up or not, and I'm glad that I haven't. And there is still times now where my nipples do get sore because he does constantly feed, and again, that's something they do in the first couple of weeks, is they cluster feed, so they feed little and often, and they are just, you literally just feel like they're constantly attached to you all the time. But you will feel like you want to give up, but all I'm saying is don't, just keep pushing through, keep going. Nipple cream is going to be your best friend if you decide to breastfeed, but it's definitely getting a little easier. Obviously he's still feeding a lot, and hopefully he will start to get into a pattern and a rhythm, and he hopefully won't be feeding as much as he is currently and has done since he's been here. But I'm definitely loving the journey, but it's definitely not easy, and it definitely is hard, and it does take a strain on you mentally, so just be prepared. Question 15 is, would you recommend raspberry leaf tea? I personally would say yes, but obviously again, do your research on it. Not everyone agrees with drinking it. People have different views, people have experienced different things. The reason I started drinking raspberry leaf tea from 33 weeks is because I had such a long labour with Penelope. I read up that it's obviously a tonic for your uterus and it helps make it stronger, and it also, I think it also softened the cervix but not dilated, like dilates you, and it's supposed to help with a quicker labour. And for me, it could have been a coincidence, but obviously my labour was super quick, and that could potentially be down to the Raz Relief tea, or it could have just been down to having 2 babies back to back and my body knew what to do. But I definitely say that it was down to the Raz Relief tea, because I drank it religiously from 33 weeks, starting with 1 cup, and then from 36 going up to 2, and then 38 3, and I definitely say that that helped. So I definitely recommend it, but again, definitely do your research and see if it's going to work for you or something that's going to be a benefit to you. And also speak to your midwife or consultant or healthcare professional before you start drinking it. 16 must-haves for breastfeeding. So there is 3 of the top things that I recommend for breastfeeding, and they are going to be your best friends. Number 1, a nipple cream. Get a nipple cream that becomes your best friend. You'll be applying it a lot. I use currently the Boots own brand nipple cream, and it definitely has helped and worked. It was definitely my best friend in the first few weeks. Obviously there is other ones that you can use, and the best thing about Boots nipple cream, I'm not sure whether it's the same with all of them, is that you don't have to remove it if you've applied it to feed. It's perfectly safe for them to feed with it on. Number 2 is some decent breast pads, and thirdly, I recommend a breastfeeding pillow, or even your pregnancy pillow. It just makes feeding a lot easier and a lot more comfortable, and it's just a lifesaver. So yeah, they're the 3 things that I would definitely recommend for breastfeeding. Question 17, and this is quite a sad one. How are you feeling about not having any more babies? I don't know how many times I've probably mentioned this, but obviously Lennox was our final baby. In all honesty, I am still finding it really hard to get my head around that I'm not going to be pregnant again. I'm not going to feel the first kicks. I'm not going to get excited about scans. I'm not going to get excited about midwife appointments. I'm not going to feel their movements anymore, their first kicks, and watching my body change and having a bump and having a newborn again. Like, I am so sad that I'm not going to get to do that again. Like, it really does upset me, and I don't think you can ever say or know when you're really done having babies. But I know right now, and probably in the near future, that we will not have any more, which is fine. I am 26. I've got 3 beautiful children, and I am very grateful and very lucky, but it is kind of bittersweet that we're not going to get the firsts again. And I try not to think about it. I'm kind of just trying to soak up every moment that we have with Lennox. And I mean, we did the same with Penelope, because we thought Penelope was our last, and obviously we ended up falling pregnant with Lennox, which obviously was a massive surprise. So we did make the most of obviously all her firsts and watching her grow, because like I said, we generally thought that she was our last, and this time round we really are soaking up every single moment that we have Lennox, every day that we have Lennox, watching him grow, watching his firsts, you know, just taking in all those little moments that you know you're not gonna get again. But yeah, I try not to think about it, but obviously when I do, it is really sad. But then I think about the future and what my body has already achieved. So yeah, it is kind of bittersweet, but I know that we are now fully complete. And the final question is, when did you have your bags packed? So I actually packed my bags really late this time round, just because I thought generally I was going to just be overdue, and I actually lost a lot of motivation during my pregnancy as well, because I was so tired. And I think that was because obviously my body hadn't had time to recover from the last pregnancy, because obviously I fell pregnant when Nelly was only 6.5 months old, so my body really hadn't had time to recover. So I lost a lot of motivation to do things, so my bags were actually packed very, very late. Obviously I had things just chucked in there, but I hadn't actually sorted it out properly, and I think it wasn't until like 37, 38 weeks that my bag was packed and ready to go, which was kind of a good thing. Lennox's bag was packed a few weeks before that, but I definitely recommend, if it's your first or, well, whatever baby you're on, definitely always have it packed by about 35 weeks, if not a little bit before. This time around, I think I was just so chilled that I just wasn't in any rush to pack it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I had everything packed by about 37, 38 weeks and ready to go. So yeah, definitely I would recommend packing your hospital bag by the beginning of your 3rd trimester, just to be on the safe side. Not saying that anything would happen, but it's always nice to be prepared so you're not rushing to pack things in the bag. You can just pick up your bags and go. So that was the final question. I do hope that you guys have enjoyed today's video, and obviously, like I said, this is the last video that's going to end the pregnancy, labour and delivery and everything to do with pregnancy. It's the last one, it's the final one. We will be getting ready for the autumn winter content and getting back to sort of normal content as well as it just being like pregnancy related, which I'm excited about. Lots of cozy videos coming. I absolutely love autumn winter as much as I love the summer. I do love autumn winter, so I'm excited for that. So obviously if you want to see that, then please do stick around. Do remember to click the like button and also click the subscribe button down below, and I will see you guys in a brand new video very, very soon. Bye guys.